terms of accommodating bicycles in town, something that has come up repeatedly. If you go back and look at Conwell Street and the history of Conwell Street has been a problem with bicycles for decades, and it's been exacerbated as there have been more and more bikes in town. This idea came from a resident who lives on the other side of Route 6, and came to the bicycle committee and wrote a letter and said, is there anything that we can do on the Conwell Street section from Cemetery Road to Bradford Street, where it's incredibly narrow, and people who are riding their bicycles get essentially run off the road by cars into shrubs and fences and front yards and parking spaces because the roadway is really narrow. The bicycle committee talked about it and didn't come to really any conclusion. He came back to me and said, is there anything that 365 can do? And Gloria and I talked about the traffic hearing and said, let's put your proposal into the traffic hearing process and see what happens. So what he was asking for was this. Well, you see what, so this is a good example. This is what Conwell Street is, right? You can't get a bike down there. If you've been there, you know what it's like. Sharrows, there's two things that you can do to indicate on a road, and this is standard traffic engineering stuff that's being done all over the country and all over the world, we just don't do it here yet, is to paint markings on the street that say bikes belong. That's essentially what a Sharrow is. It's a shared lane marking, and I'll show you a picture of that in a second. It gives guidance to people who are driving that bikes are going to be here, so watch out for bikes. And it indicates to bicyclists not to squish way over to the edge of the road. Try to actually use the roadway when you're riding your bike so you don't end up on the edge of the road. So that's what a Sharrow is. This is an example of it from Boston. It was the only one that I could find that actually showed kind of the full complement of stuff, which is the Sharrow, the bicycle with a double arrow chevron in the middle of the traffic lane, and a sign that says, that reminds people that this is the law, bicycles may use full lane. This is the law in Massachusetts. A lot of people think it isn't. But bicycles may use the full lane on any roadway that a bicycle is allowed to operate on, which is anything except for a limited access highway. This, again, shows you more clearly, this is what would be painted on the road. It's the standard federal Sharrow and the standard signage. And so we're asking for that in those two lanes on Conwell Street in each direction from Cemetery Road to Bradford Street. It doesn't change the road at all, doesn't limit cars, doesn't limit bicycles, doesn't include sidewalks, doesn't do anything like that. All it does is put some paint and signs there to hopefully make people more aware that bikes belong here and that and to let drivers know.
It's a huge educational thing to say the bikes may use the full lane.
Yes.
That's huge.
I don't think bike riders even know.
Some
I
of
don't
them
think they know.
I actually
I am shocked.
I randomly had the opportunity to meet with someone from Boston who is a lawyer who specializes in bike law. He was in town on Saturday. We got together and chatted for about a half an hour about liability issues. Does this do anything? If we paint on the street, is town going to be setting itself up for something? He said, absolutely not. Bikes already are allowed. This is just advisory. It's just education. And that's something that people say to the bike committee. We hear it from the selectmen a lot. You need to do more education. There's a limited amount of education that you can do with pamphlets and being at the firehouse and with banners over Commercial Street. You actually need to do some stuff on the roads where people are driving and riding their bikes. So this is one of those options. So we brought this